everybody. As you can see by my screen here, today I'm going to be talking about Radeon. The reason why I'm going to be talking about Radeon today is that Radeon is a brand of computer products, mainly GPUs or graphics processing units, and they are a subdivision of the CPU powerhouse AMD. Radeon was first launched in 2000, and they were launched by this company called ATI Technologies, and later it was bought out to AMD in 2006 for around 5.4 billion US dollars. The first GPU lineup that was ever made by Radeon was made by ATI, and it was the Radeon 7000 series, not to be confused with the most recent Radeon RX 7000 series, but it's called the Radeon 7000 series, or sometimes it's called the R100 series, which is the code name for it. And this was released in 2000 by ATI, like I said earlier, and it only consisted of around 32 to 64 gigabytes of, or not gigabytes, 32 to 64 megabytes of GDDR2 memory, which is very slow and not a lot to today's standard. And it only had like a max clock speed of around 166 megahertz per second. And it only had around 8 cores compared to GPUs nowadays that have hundreds of cores. The name trend of GPUs continued with the 8000 to 9000 series, as well as their X300 to X600 to X1000 series. Anyways, after AMD purchased Radeon, they started making their own GPUs immediately after they purchased it. And their first lineup was called the HD chips, or HD 2000 series, and it went from HD 2000 all the way up to HD 5000, or not 5000, HD 9000. And they're pretty powerful cards, and they were made to really compete with NVIDIA's 8000 to 1600 series, or no, AMD, or is made to compete with NVIDIA's 8000 series to 10000 series. The most recent GPU that was made by AMD was the RX 7000 series, and the newest one is called the RX 7900 XTX. And this is one of the best cards, as I said earlier, and it was released in December 13th of 2022, and it has a MSRP, or a cost, of around $1,000 USD. It has 24 gigabytes of GDDR7 VRAM, as well as a bandwidth of 960 gigabytes per second. And it has a TDP, or max wattage pull, of around 355 watts. And it also uses PCI 4.0 16x slot, which is the fastest one currently available right now. And it is able to handle the max resolution of 8K, and it can run this at around 60 to 165 hertz. In theory, it's supposed to do that. And this matches the same performance of NVIDIA's 48er Super, and that's about it. And as you can see here by the photo, it consists of one HDMI slot right here, and two display ports right here, as well as the HDMI Type-C, or USB Type-C. Anyways, AMD is planning on releasing way more GPUs, and their new one's going to be released in 2025. It should be this first couple months of 2025, and they will be releasing the RX 9000 series. And they'll be changing their naming scheme to the same thing as NVIDIA's naming scheme, to make it a little bit more simple and a little bit easier to compare to. So the new cards will be called the RX 970 XT, and this means that the RX 9070 XT will in theory be able to compete with the 5070 Ti. So it's supposed to be like the naming scheme, or same naming scheme, so it's easier to recognize the products themselves. That's all I have. Bye.